Hello, and you're very welcome to the JMac podcast. I'm John Man. Of course, the podcast brought to you by orgarich.com. Use promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on their website. And today I'm joined by former Kingscourt and underage Cavan footballer Colm Smith to talk about Colm's obviously strength and conditioning work in the last couple of years. Bit about Kingscourt and Cavan and his home route. So really looking forward to talking to Colm today. How are you keeping, Colm?
Not too bad, lad. Not too bad. Sunny Liverpool. Not too often we say that.
Yes.
Sunshine and blue skies. So I'll probably be raining in the next 20 minutes. So
yeah. Much like Cavan today. It's a lovely morning, but it is after bucking down rain. But what can we expect? How is life, my man?
Yeah, all good, mate. Busy. We're international break at the moment, so it's kind of an easier week. You got players going to all ends of the earth. Actually not too bad this time. I think the furthest we went to was America. One of the Japanese girls was playing. She was in America, but then we've got players then in Spain, Finland, all over. But yeah, all good, all's busy. So just keeping taking over the 6-month-old here as well, trying to keep me taking over, and then trying to train to run a marathon in April. So doesn't really stop. And then trying to watch GAA go whenever I get a chance to, trying to catch up on Cavan's results. But all good, yeah, all good.
Yeah, I'm kind of running. I'm doing similar, but we're back training for the football. So I think it feels like we're running a marathon at the minute with the training we're doing at the minute. We could touch that later on. What you make of all that? But good stuff, Colm. You're busy, and of course you're with the Liverpool ladies soccer team at the minute. You're obviously strength and conditioning coach, and you've obviously experienced with West Ham as well and various other teams, Colm, I suppose. But that's good stuff. And I suppose you haven't obviously looked back. Obviously, you've been in England the last couple of years, and as we're talking affair, you really haven't looked back.
No, to be fair, like I moved over in 2014, moved over, had a job, got to a county final, lost the job, and then back over on the boat again. Mullahoran bet us after a replay. Was it Mullahoran that year? Could have been.
What year was that, Colm? What year?
That would have been 2014, I think it was.
2014.
Paul the Gunner, I think, destroyed us. But yeah, it was
Cavan Gales won it in 2014, didn't they? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, it must have been 2015. Then I done 2 years flying home as well.
2015 would have been the year Kingscourt won it. Yeah, Niall Lynch was your manager, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I missed out on that year. That year I transferred over. That year,
Ooh.
I was kind of at that bridge where, do I commit or do I stay in London? I got an internship at Harlequins that year, so I was like, kind of have to knuckle down and get some sort of work. So yeah, I actually missed that year, and I get reminded about it probably every time I go home that I missed that year as well. But no, it was one of them things where you kind of have to make the decision, and I made the decision in 2014 to go over, and then I'd done 2 years flying back. I was kind of lucky enough in that the sports over here would be mainly football, and I'm in soccer, and when I was in London, it was rugby that I was working in. So you're kind of in pre-season when the championship was going on, so I used to fly home. I used to do June, July, August, September. Done that for 2 years in a row. Lucky enough I could do it. Lucky enough Kingscourt were willing to facilitate me doing. And I was very lucky with the managers, Niall Lynch and Bernie Murray then. But it did take its toll. And to be fair, I was working in a lot of Gaelic football at the time. I used to coach Gaelic football in London, and I coach a bit of hurling as well. But people who used to say a Cavan man coaching hurling used to get a lot of stick about that. But I used to just tell them it's foot.
You would have been found out fairly quickly.
Oh no, I used to say it was foot passing drills done with a hurl. That's all I used to do, and the lads used to think it was revolutionary, so it used to be great for me.
Yeah.
But I worked with London footballers for a year, hurlers for 2 years, and then the London footballers for another year as well. So
yeah,
kind of seen the inter-county scene from there.
Mm-hmm.
It was under Paul Coggins, then 2 years with Fergus McMahon with the hurlers, and then a year with Kieran Deely with footballers.
Yeah.
And like it's people think inter-county in Ireland's hard. If you're in a circle on a central line to Ruislip or to Greenford on a Tuesday night, it's I used to say to the lads, I don't know how you do it in London, never mind at home. And the whole inter-county scene. But then more or less work took over. Rugby, I was working in semi-professional rugby. Then I started working with the Chelsea Women's Academy.
Yeah.
And then West Ham. Done a bit of work in a private school as well then in the meantime. they didn't really understand me Cavan accent, so I kind of had to get out of there fairly lively. Then West Ham, and then up to Liverpool. Then October before, so never really looked back. So yeah, all busy.
Yeah, just had some, I suppose, track record of, it's coaching and S&C, and it's definitely been all hands on deck. And I suppose, like, coming away from Cavan, and it seems to be the dumb thing nearly to, I suppose, for people to go traveling in recent years, and definitely in the last couple of even months, you see people heading off to Australia, you see people heading off to America. And so it's maybe, I wouldn't say maybe worrying times from the country's end of things, Colm, but it really goes to show people seem to be flying the nest.
Yeah, but like, to be fair, you have to hand it to people to do it as well. Like, it can't be easy. Like, I was lucky, I was only an hour away. Like, people moving to Australia and stuff like that, you kind of have to tip your hat to them, because it's a massive move to make. But the one thing I noticed, John, when you go abroad, is the Irish abroad are unbelievable. Like, from when you get off a plane in London, if you see an Irish person, you sit and talk to them, no matter where they're from, and they're always willing to help. Like, I could never get over how friendly the Irish were and how good they were to each other now. And that could be from all ends of the earth. I played for Kingdom Kerry Gales, and sure, Kerry's Kerry. Like, they didn't understand me, I didn't understand them, but they're always willing to help. And if you needed to live somewhere, if you needed anything, and it's not like London's a small place either. Like, it's hard to get around, but there's always a helping hand if you need anything. If you needed work, you could be in a building site if you wanted to in the morning. Thank God I never had to go down that way. I've done that at home enough days with my brothers. So I was like, keep me in the coaching. But
yeah,
it's one thing I would say about Irish people moving abroad is the Irish abroad are something else. Like, and it's heartwarming to see when you do see people abroad. It's great to see as well. Like, it's great to see people spreading their wings and getting out and getting away. And like, and it's funny you say that about people going. You nearly see the older generation coming home now. The lads who would have been going when I was younger, I see a lot of them people coming back now. I had a cousin that came back there. He must have been out there nearly 15 years. He's back home now and moving a family home. It's just one of these things. It goes in a circle. But I don't think I get home now. I think my wife might say a little bit different to that, getting back to Kingscourt. As patient as she is, I don't think I'll get back anytime soon anyway. Yeah,
because Jordan Morris obviously playing straight for Kingscourt, so I don't know, Kingscourt could be smelling the championship in the next year or two, Colm. But I suppose, have you missed obviously the home aspect of things? Obviously your dad used to be Phil used to be obviously the county board chairman, obviously his great skin in the game in Cavan football, Cavan circle. I suppose, have you kind of missed maybe going to Cavan games, playing for Kingscourt, and I suppose enjoying that aspect of things that you used to do?
Oh yeah, Jesus, you'd miss it. I'd miss it more this time of the year. I was always a bit of a runner. So pre-seasons, I used to be one of these clowns that would be running around in pre-season and never minded it. It was when the football started coming in when I started struggling, John.
I think 95% of every male person is probably going to disagree with you on that, Colin. But
yeah, Dudley Farrell used to have a saying to me, "Knowing you've enough done." So that's what I used to get shouted at. You would miss it now, and you'd miss this time of the year going to a league game or just that kind of Sunday routine of tipping into the Medview maybe for a pint before the game, getting the feed on the way home, and going to whatever. Dad used to be a nightmare. Dad would go to every end of the country to watch Cavan, be it when he was chairman or when he wasn't chairman.
Yeah.
So when we used to go, like, even McKenna Cup games, I remember sitting in the car up in Celtic Park, and
me and you both.
We went everywhere. I remember going to from Buncrana one Saturday evening, and I think we were somewhere before that watching the hurlers.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would miss it. You'd miss that kind of routine from home. And it's funny, I was chatting to Nifahi about it yesterday. She was home for the weekend, and she said she sat on the couch and watched 3 games of Gaelic football. The first 2 games, and then the delayed coverage in front of the fire.
Yeah.
But you would miss that. You'd miss the crack. You'd miss the routine of Tuesday, Thursday, then play on the weekend. But it's a lot different now, even to when I was at home. Like, even the club scene has got very, very serious. Which for me, I think it's a bit worrying. But at the same time, it's the way it was always going to go. But yeah, you'd miss playing for Kingscourt. You'd miss running up the hill, running out, and God knows, when I was a kid, when I started playing with Kingscote, we went from Division 1, the bottom of Division 2, to winning a senior championship in 5 years, in 4 years probably.
Yeah.
So we kind of went from playing Cavan, Gales and Mullahorn to playing against Drung away. So that's what we had. So it's never a walk in the park, especially when it's Kingscote.
Yeah. I suppose in the last couple of years with Kingscote, obviously, I suppose been so close over the years thereabouts, and it was obviously we were talking off air about the Jordan Maris kind of coming in, and what in addition to any setup column, obviously we know Barry Riley, Joe Dillon still playing their trade, pushing on Kingscote football, obviously Porrick Faulkner as well, Colm. Like the right men are there, and you suppose from an outsider looking in, you have to be looking at championship contenders. But what you maybe feel from the games you might have seen, has Kingscote have been lacking maybe?
I think it's going to take. I know it's the likes of Porrick. Porrick's an unbelievable footballer. I know all this was from when he was Yee High and Dylan the same. Barry's getting on a bit now. And you can record me saying that. But no, like there's still that class. Like there's still Barry Tully, Philly Tinley there that can do a job. Like, Barry would have grown up with the two Barrys. The younger lads, I would have played a little bit. Would you have Paddy Mead coming back in this year as well? Paddy's a fair footballer. Shane Duffy, some of the younger fellas, young Shackleton. I'm looking at players now who I would have coached when they were under 14, and now they're kind of coming into senior and dominating senior, and it's great to see. But there is, I think it's often looked at in the club scenes, there is 3 or 4 players coming through every year, and that's for me, that's the most important thing. When you see Kingscote, I've seen they have 3 lads in the under 17 panel. One of them is the captain, young Shackleton, and then you've got Cavan, McGee, and young McAvinny. Like it's, for me, I prefer to look at that than the current squad. I think that's one thing that I always got carried away with. You're looking at young fellas coming through, and I think it's often overlooked in clubs. Like I think the year we won it in 2010, the year before that, 5 of us were minor, or 6 of us were minors. But I think at the moment there's a crop of players there. There's definitely a senior championship in them. Like
that's what I'm saying,
and the thing is, the lads know how to win a senior championship. The majority of them there have been there. They've done it. They've won it.
Yeah.
Be it all in 2010, it was a little bit unexpected.
Yeah.
But the rest of the lads there, like they're all winners. Like if they can get, I think one thing is with Kingscote, if they get winning games, they'd be very hard to beat. I think from 2010 on, was that mentality that we knew how to win games. We went from Division 2 to winning every game that year to Division 1 the next year, winning every game, and then winning a senior championship because kind of knew how to close out games and win games even against the bigger teams. And I think that was something that was missing from before that. But I think if Kingscote can get that and can get like the Porrick, Jordan back in quite early, we were quite lucky then. We had very few inter-county players. Like Toasty Allen was probably one of the only ones. Barry was in and around it, but it's the same with under 21s. There's a group of us in and under 21s, and in 2011, myself, Barry Riley, Barry Tully, and Shane Gray and Philly Tinley.
Yeah.
And even at that, like that took away from the club a little bit, and we taught that ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's funny that for me there is a senior championship in Kingscote, and I think every year there's a senior championship in Kingscote because I think that's the mentality of the club, which I hope doesn't change anytime soon. But yeah, it is an exciting. I get excited for it every year. I try to get down to the park when I'm home, but boots stay firmly in the sideline, and probably will for the foreseeable future as well. Not unless you fancy running the hills. I'll run the hills maybe, but I'm not kicking the ball.
Jesus, you're definitely different. I'll give you that with that sort of terminology, Colm. I don't know what to make of that, but that's another day's conversation. But I suppose, Colm, when it comes even up to maybe the likes of June, July, August, the pitches are getting harder, and obviously you're playing your trade over in England at the minute. But if maybe when you're getting the messages from the likes of Joe, the message of maybe Barry, and seeing how things are, like I suppose when you're maybe watching the games of Cav stream or following them on Twitter, I suppose that's home's where the heart is.
Oh yeah, to be fair, COVID was great for that. You could actually watch games, and even the streaming now, it's great. The only problem is I get itchy feet. You're watching game and you're thinking, geez, I'd love to be home. Just even have a crack at a few lads. Probably more the older lads that I'd know now.
Yeah.
But like it is great. But the players that Kings could always have a certain way of playing, and it's
Mm.
always, and it comes from when we were younger. Dr. John McMahon and Peter McKeown, quick, fast football, and when you watch the likes of Barry in the ball, you watch Joe in the air, you watch Porrick running through the middle, you watch young Shane Duffy, you watch Barry Tully.
Yeah.
Like it's Shane Gray when his hamstrings aren't snapped. It is heartwarming to see, and it's heartwarming to see them still at the top table and going for it every year. Like, I know you've got Crushlaw coming into it now. You've Cavan Gales, Mulholland Castle, like Castleratton. Like, couldn't believe, like they were into intermediate. Like, we used to hate going to Castleratton. Like, yeah, it's one of them places. Like, there's a few of them senior clubs. It'd be great to see them back at the top. Like, it's great to see Crushlaw back up. Like, I remember playing against them the last time I was home, and I had the pleasure of marking Darren McFeety. And I'd never say the pleasure again, because
he's even, I don't know if you've been following the game closely, but he's literally been man of the match in every game he's played for Cavan since coming back.
It doesn't surprise me. Like,
yeah, he's a freak.
But that just shows, like, the lad went away for a few years, comes back, rejuvenated, ready to go. And for me, it's class to see that somebody from him, like, can go away, that can be facilitated, and then come back in. And it's great to see, and he's going to be an unbelievable addition. Like, if you're in the Ulster Championship and you're looking at him coming through, it's great. It's great for Cavan football, because it's another top class player. Like, that half back line itself, like Holla himself, and probably Jerry Smith to come into it. You'd hate to be a wing forward, because you'd be looking at you, checking your shoulders every few minutes, because them lads are going to get forward no matter what to do.
Yeah, no, it's exciting times for Cavan, and I suppose have to ask about, obviously, your Cavan days, and obviously you were part and parcel of them under 21. Great days for Cavan over the years, and obviously that's probably the most success we've had underage wise, definitely in the last few years. It was brilliant to watch them years. I suppose being involved, part and parcel of all that. Colm, what did you make of it all?
Oh, Jesus, you'd missed them. Actually, it was the Super Bowl last week, and every time I think of the Super Bowl, I think of Anthony Ford. He used to have the America's game on before we go into Enniskillen. It used to be about an hour of an episode, and from the time that we'd leave Cavan till we get to Enniskillen, there used to be an episode of this America's game, and it's basically a Super Bowl journey for some team, be it the Packers, be it the Patriots. I used to love watching them more than anything. But that was an interesting group. Like, a lot of us were minor in 2008. And it was a very close team anyway, John. Like, it was Grode's age group. Like, we were all, that minor team was very close. Tyrone beat us in an Ulster Championship, and Tyrone went on to win the All-Ireland that year. Kyle Coney, that age group. But going in then to 21s, I was in the panel the year before, like David Gibney, Eugene Keaton. And that year there was a screw torn. Like, we got to an Ulster final that year. Donegal beat us. Michael Murphy beat us. That was the way it was then. But then going into the next year, there was that feeling that we were still there, but it was a funny team. There was no exceptional players.
Collectively.
And 40 and Dave and Highland had us playing a great system as well, and everybody knew their jobs. Even if you're coming in from the subs, if you were anyone, you knew that you were doing your job. And you Joe McCarthy there as well.
God rest him.
Yeah, great man. And we used to travel in the car with him, and some of the conversations you just go over your head because Joe was so intelligent. You'd be looking at each other thinking, "Geez, what's this fella talking to me here at all, coming from Dublin?" But yeah, there was some great players, like some great highlights. Like, I think when you watch back the highlights, when you watch Damien Barkey peeling your man from Tyrone, every time I watch it, I laugh, because I remember it was a Highland said big truck, small truck, bash, and all of a sudden it was. And since that, like, and you know what? Then that was a funny time, because we won the Ulster on the Wednesday night. And we played the All-Ireland semi-final on the Saturday night.
Oh, Wexford in Parnell Park,
and then the All-Ireland final we won't talk about, because that was a bad day.
Oh, Lordy, I know, Christ.
But it was a bank holiday.
Oh, should take off the jersey.
Yeah, exactly, lad. Danny Cummins was wearing that one that day. But it was a great group, like, and some of the characters in it, like some of the stories from the changing rooms. Like, I remember Peter Morris breaking Barry Tully's nose in training. And all the boys coming in feeling sorry for Tully, and there was all the Kings Cup boys absolutely pissing themselves laughing, ringing him as soon as he looked like Steve Bruce, and Tully's nose the other side of his face. The lads felt bad, but we done nothing but slay Tully about it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But that was a great group. Like, I'd still speak to Alan O'Mara a good bit. Me and him were still good mates, and
brilliant too.
You still see some of the names prop up, and it's good to see that. But like, that's what them lads are. What Garode, Niall Murray, boys are still knocking about, and Garode himself, still an unbelievable footballer.
Yeah, Niall finished up with Cavan as well only a couple of months ago. Like, he had some longevity. Yeah,
some longevity, and even like some of the players in that, Niall Smith as well.
Yeah,
Maloney Durham, McClarry's out in America. Like the one thing I'd always say about that team was the crack that we used to have in changing rooms before and after games. Was that there was never that much pressure. Like, that was the thing with it. There was never.
It seemed that. Yeah, like that underage kind of under 21. That it just seems. I just think when it gets to senior, back then, like it looked very serious. But I think that under 21 team just had something really special about it.
Yeah, but and you know what? A lot of the lads were fearless as well. Like there wasn't a sense of expectation. Like, I think that went on then for the next few years as well. Like, I know that the system that we are playing, worked. And the lads had that to a T, but even then going on for the next few years, you could see that was still prevalent. But I kind of put Cavan up there. The team started fearing Cavan again, and I think that's what Cavan kind of needed at the time. Like, you had that under 21 success, you had minor success then as well. I think it showed people that it's not just a walkover. Like, there is provincial chances in Cavan. We can win provincials, be it either under 21 and minor, and then leading into senior. That was a championship. Was it 2 years ago now? COVID just rolled it out. I remember sitting in a flat in Twickenham in London, just absolutely screaming the house down.
Unreal,
But and there are moments you'll never forget. Even though I'd say my neighbours are thinking, what is happening next door? A mad Irish fella shouting about. But yeah, I think that stemmed a lot of the success going forward. People will probably say Cavan underachieved because of that. You could agree with that to a certain degree, but then you also have to look at the teams in Ulster, like Tyrone, Donegal. Donegal have won All Ireland that period as well. Like, it's that team, that Donegal team, Michael Murphy and that crew, like McHugh's, was a phenomenal team. Like, but I'll never forget them team meetings. The boys had the homework done on Tyrone and everything. Tyrone, Donegal, they knew who to look out for. They knew who their best players were. We knew who our best players were to stamp them out. And that was from all over the pitch. That just wasn't a cornerback. That was at midfield, at wing forward, who's stopping attacks, who's stopping whatever. But yeah, good times, good people, and a lot of slating. There was a lot of slating. I remember we done shave or die that year. The year we won the Ulster Championship, we done shave or die. Except for Barry Riley and Barry Tully. Tully kept his head bleached. Me and Barry went half blue, half white. And then shaved at the same night. So we looked interesting. I looked like I had a head like an atlas. Bit of blue, bit of white, bit of normal. Barry was probably an improvement for him, though, to be fair. But yeah, we done a pool session the next morning. It was after one of the Ulster Championship games. It was a Paddy's night, the night before Paddy's Day. We drove back into Kingscourt, got the hair done, and then we had a pool session the next morning in Cavan, Crystal, or the Steve Russell. Somebody whipped the swimming hats us before we walked in. We walked in at the head skin. But yeah, there's a lot of slating done that time as well.
And I suppose that obviously that 2011 success, and obviously we did get to the Ulster final in 2010, Colm, as you did mention a couple of minutes ago. But like, did you feel in 2011 like that success kind of was coming? Obviously 2012, 2013, 2014, the 4 in a row that we did eventually do. But saying like in 2011, like the group of players were coming through the last couple of years, was it just getting the right coaches involved? Was the right players coming through at the right time? Or I suppose, what would you put it down to?
I'd probably put it down to even before that, John. Like, I think Nicholas Walsh should get a lot of credit for what was done there. Like, he was in it as the game's promotion officer, and like, I remember being under under 15 and given a medicine ball. Like, he started that kind of coaching and game stuff at underage level, at that development squads levels quite early. And if you look at the players that are probably on them development squads, very few players, like all of them players that are playing now, are probably still there. There might be one or two lads that came through a bit later on.
Yeah.
But them groups, like Mickey was my coach at under 16, so that was 2006. Then he was minor in 2008, 2009. And like, I couldn't speak highly enough at the time. I thought he was class.
Yeah.
He just kept picking out when I kicked the ball out, when I kicked balls under pressure, possession given away without any pressure. Mark Kelly used to always point my number straight away every time in the meetings. But that, I think Nicholas needs to take a lot of credit for that came through that time.
Yeah.
And then the strength in that again, then bringing on in the likes of Peter Donnelly, Sean Doherty, Andy McGovern, like that cohort. And I think a lot comes back to that underage structures and getting that right and having the right coaches in there. Like, I see Shawnee Smith in at the under 17s at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to play under Sean. I remember playing against him. He's so passionate. You'd love to play for somebody that's done so much in the game at club level.
Yeah, and I seen he had like I don't know, did you see the tweet? He had like an information even for like the parents, the parents and the players. Like, and I suppose that's obviously, stars you mean to go on. This is what we're going to get for the year ahead. And obviously we see so much stuff going on with youths at the minute and their mindset and mental health bits. So I think that even in itself looked really important. Yeah,
like I think that's class, but I think that underage, that development squad level is when you start, I hate using the word, you're coming into your specialization and you're kind of nurturing that talent as much. And like, I remember going to tournaments all over the country, and boys used to say to me, the only reason why you're here, Smith, is because you're eligible as the county board chairman. I'm on the trip anyway, lad, so I keep going. That was all the snipe of me, but for me, I could take it as well as anyone. But them trips up to wherever you were going on tournaments, and you were playing against the best players. Like, you were playing against McHugh's. Remember going up to play up in Donegal, I forget where it was, but you knew you were playing against Mark McHugh, who was like one of the biggest players coming through at our level, and you knew you were playing against Coney at under 16 levels, and you knew these names all the way through then. But I think that infrastructure then kind of led way to what happened then in 2020, or even them under 21 successes. Like, I think bringing in them coaches at that time was massive for the county board. And if you look at Pete Donnelly in particular, like, he's outrageous. Like, and he's
Ulster Rugby at the minute, I think, isn't it?
No, he's at Ireland Sevens at the moment.
Oh, God,
so he's gone from Ulster Rugby, so he's working with the Sevens program. I messaged him last week, actually. The young fella wearing a Kerry top, so I was messaging him, giving him a bit of abuse about that. But he like that. I think that kind of led the way to what happened later on. But I think also the coaches that were in them as part of them groups as well was very, like, people talk about bad coaches. For me, you learn more from a bad coach than you will from a good coach a lot of the time. Like, that's especially at them young age groups. Like, I say to my nephews as well. Now, my brother's coaching them, so he's a bad coach in my view. So I do say to them, like, you're going to learn as much from him as from anyone else, and it's
when you say that, like, is it just picking up on stuff that they're maybe not doing, or like what do you mean by
because it'll teach you the challenge a lot of the time. When we were going through bad patches at Kingscourt, like, you reflect on it and you say, what was the coach doing? What was the manager doing that for? But you can think to yourself then, well, if I'm going to do it that way, then for me, that's a learning. Like Dudley Farrell, for example, my biggest learning for him was his relationship with the players and his intensity. Like, you're thinking the previous manager didn't have that, so you're thinking to yourself, well, he had that, and that's from my side, that's class.
So you clutch on to that, is this? You kind of clutch on to that sort of intensity, that sort of
massively. And for me, that's probably the biggest thing is the intensity and the intent of what you're actually doing. And if you didn't do something right, you were told, and that's a thing that I think that's an area that I think gets kind of lost now, especially with underage teams. You're told, "Oh, you shouldn't do this because," but
you lose. Yeah, and I think the current opinion on that seems to be, if you do that in the current, like the younger generation, like a lot of coaches do be saying, you probably lose the player, they might quit, they might not turn up to the next training. So I think that sort of generation seems to be different now, Colm.
I don't think that's the reason. I think the reason why they're doing this is because they don't enjoy your drills. It's not the feedback, like Dudley's stuff,
Okay.
or any manager that I've worked with in that sense,
Mm.
who had done a bad drill and probably bollock you out of it. The reason why you're going back wasn't because you're getting bollocks, was probably because the trainer was absolutely brutal. Or I think if you have a coach that you can trust and are compliant with, and I think that's the big thing I find from coaching, is that compliance. Like when we were under Mickey, I had a lot of time for Mickey. Like with any of them, any of the managers that I liked and I get on well with. That compliance goes a long way.
We see kind of so much, obviously, talk about Mickey in the last couple of years, and his track record probably speaks for itself, Colm. But like, what makes, I suppose, Mickey so special? And suppose what, like, obviously, the success with Mullinachta was just nothing short of incredible, and obviously Ulster win in 2020. But I suppose what makes him so special in your eyes?
I used to find he used to talk to you.
Okay.
And he wouldn't talk down to you. Like if it was a tactical thing that you needed, he'd talk to you and he'd tell you, if you're a wing back, you need to get back into that line there. You need to get into that position. But he'd also, remember, he used to ask me about the club, how I was getting on. You'd have a bit of crack with him. Not enough crack that you're his best mate, but you'd have enough dialogue with him to know where you stood with him. And I used to always massively respect that. If you weren't playing, I used to have a chat with him. Used to say, "Well, what can I do?" Or, and there was always that honesty. He was lucky. I remember at Minor, he'd Sean Pearson and Mickey Lee with him as two selectors as well.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like that backroom team alone is unbelievable crack. Like Pearson himself, Oisin's father,
Oisin's dad, yeah.
He was unbelievable, and Mickey Lee as well. Like there was that dynamic, but I think with core managers, you see a lot of that now. It's like that compliance and that trust. You see the guy at Roscommon is a prime example of it. A young manager. He's
Davy Burke, I
watched him the weekend, and he's
flying.
class. I'm very impressed with him. Like, but I think a lot of the older generation, that are still involved, have that right. Jack O'Connor. You hear interviews, you listen to James O'Donoghue talking about him. He's talks about how driven he is and just wants to win, but will have that conversation with you as well. But yeah, it was always a funny one with Cavan, like the coaches. Like, remember Fordy, like for example, Fordy was with us in that under-21 team, and I remember taking lumps out of him in a championship final, and then in a league final blowing Lavey, where there was a bust up, and so he was in the middle of it, only 40, and there was us in for team meeting the next day. Him with a black eye that I'd say my brother could have given him. But there was never any animosity from it. You left it on the pitch, like.
No, definitely. I suppose that under 21 success did really go on, and obviously the 4 in a row column, like, it was really, really impressive, and it kind of did put Cavan underage football on the map. And so as everyone always says to me, "Oh, John, what about these great underage teams you've had in recent years?" And I suppose maybe the drop off when you make that development onto the senior team has been quite evident in the last few years, Colm. It's kind of hard to know maybe why we've maybe lost that influx of players maybe from the underage success, or it's hard to know.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of them teams are playing to a certain system as well. And when you're playing to a certain system, when you go to senior level, you have to have them few mavericks as well. Them few players that can produce that little bit of magic. And then 4 years, they were probably playing a similar system, and they knew how to win within them systems, within them age groups. Like, as soon as I hear of a Cavan team playing and then a skill, and the first thing I think is Cavan's going to win this game because it's a home ground for them.
Straight away, yeah.
Like that's just the way it is with that. Like, it's as soon as you hear any skilling, it's a good thing. But I think then coming through, like I see it here with us, with Liverpool or even at West Ham, is you could have the best young players, teams coming through, but you might not necessarily have the best players coming through.
Yeah.
Like, we're lucky if we get a player a year from the academy. Like, that's just it. And the academy could win every trophy going. But you might bring one player through because that's the player that's going to make it a senior level.
Okay.
Club level is probably similar at home. He'd be winning everything with the club, but he might necessarily be good enough.
Rammer might strike that.
Yeah, like even Kingscote, if you take that 2010 team, like Toasty was the only one that probably would have played.
Yeah.
And Barry.
And Barry was very in and out. Toasty was always there, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that wasn't until after that. Till after 2010. Like he was in and out before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a massive step. But I think inter-county football at home at the moment,
it's
for me,
crazy.
I don't know how some people do it.
I had that conversation with lads every single day. I really don't. Yeah.
Like if you look at that team that came through, you look at Cavan Tierney. Like, he was an unbelievable footballer, but inter-county commitment is probably another thing. Packy Leddy, like
big Packy, for Hills.
What a player! What a player! But Packy was never really that interested in travelling from Galway 4 times a week.
Yeah.
But and the crack with Packy, geez, if you had Packy on any team, the last time I bumped into Packy was at a stag party, and the crack with him that night. But he's another prime example of inter-counties. Probably commitment wise was always crazy. Gym sessions, running sessions, like I prescribed them now, but doing them is another thing. To prescribing them, it was always I could never get over. I can never get over the level of commitment that lads go through at the moment. I think it's you have to take your hat off to some of them. Like I see professional players probably don't do as much.
Right. Yeah.
Like when you look at the volume of training that they're doing week, day in, day out, like it's nuts.
Yeah. No, because a lot of people are kind of saying like the club game's kind of gone the way county maybe was 10 odd years ago, so it's called, but the way even club is at the minute, a lot of lads are saying maybe 3, 4, 5 nights a week, even if you want to kind of get to that very top level. And you did remark earlier on in the podcast that you maybe are worried about the way things are kind of going across the pond.
Yeah, no, to be fair, like I don't know where the enjoyment would be in some of it, John.
Okay.
Like that'd be my thing. Like you play football for that bit of crack, that bit of enjoyment. Like you play a game Sunday night on a Sunday. You go for a few pints on a Sunday evening. The lads after the game.
Yeah.
And you're back to work. You're back training on the Tuesday. Where I think a lot of clubs just need to look at a structure and find where the enjoyment is, because I know we're talking about losing players to Australia and losing people to abroad. I know yourself, when I was in London, you never had that, oh shit, I need to go train, and you never have that pressure, okay, I need to go training here, I need to go training there. I was lucky. I'm very lucky. It's my job to do it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But you never had that external pressure of, geez, if I don't go down to the park tonight, what will be said? And at the same time, it's great to have that structure. But sometimes you just need to zone out. And I see, like Barry last year didn't go back to later on in the year, and you're fresh. And then I see Shane Gray on the other hand, who tells me he was in the gym 4 or 5 times a week just to make sure that he was fit to play.
Right.
Yeah. And as I said to him, I don't know how you do that, lad. Like it's crazy for the, like, and all you can do is commend lads. Like it's unbelievable. Like for a club football, you're not going to get anything out of it. Like you'll get the satisfaction, you'll get the injuries, you'll get the heartbreak, and I think it's class. Like there's no other sport has it. Like I do tell the girls over here that I'm working with, I used to play Gaelic football and used to fly home to play it. They say, how much did you get paid for that? I'm like,
nothing.
Might get a pint in the pub after a game. That's great.
The love of the game. Yeah.
Literally, and it's crazy. And I think the danger is, like, I know Jarlath Bourne spoke about it, the level of training that clubs are doing and the age grade stuff. And like I watched some of the club games last year, and you look at some of the clubs and some of the lads.
Conditions off the charts. Kilmacud and Glen, like Jesus Christ.
No, but even in the club game, I looked at Killigary last year and I couldn't get over the condition of Killigary. I thought Killigary were unbelievable, Nick.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get over how I would have played against them probably 3 years before that, and even then they were in great, Nick.
Yeah.
But then you come against the likes of Gunnar, Killian Brady, who has always had that strength and would just cream you. But there was always, the club game has gone, I think, so far on that level. Now I even see Kingscote have their own gym and the lads be in the gym before training. You see the young lads in.
Yeah.
And then you hear about junior programs of S&C for youth athletes, and
Okay.
you would wonder sometimes, John, where's football? That's the be all and end all. Where is the football a lot of the time in some of this, and
Yeah.
what has been worked on from a technical, tactical point of view? And I think
Yeah.
it will do full circle again. It will come back around to that technical, tactical thing, and you can
Yeah.
see. I think
Yeah.
you see Mead this year.
Uh-huh.
Like Mead's going to be an interesting one this year, I think, because they're actually kicking the ball, and Mead always had good footballers, as much as it
Yeah.
kills me to say it.
Yeah.
But they're actually moving the ball. They're actually. You watched the Mayo game the other night. Mayo didn't fuck about with the ball. They just got the ball in and started using it.
Yeah.
It's and I hope the big game goes that way again, because I think it'll show teams that you need to actually work on the technical, tactical. We watch Glenn. Glenn were exceptional at. And I've listened to a few things on Glenn since, and just from them older players getting in saying, well, we need to do this, we need to knuckle down, and no excuses and all this, but we need to actually get coaching and slot me and now have Chrissy McKagan as the GPO, and that's great for the game. That's great for the game, and not being over reliant on other aspects. Like I think that the training load thing is going to become a thing again. I think it went away for a few years. It's always been in the background, but I think it's going to come to a fore very, very soon, because you look at the split season and how is that going to work? Is it going to work? The Sigerson. It's never going to be perfect. The GAA just need an extra month in the year, and then they'll be fine.
13 months, yeah.
Literally, but then you're saying to a club footballer, you only be training for 6 months. What are you going to do for those 6 months?
Yeah.
And I think it is at a very. I think Jarlath Bourne's a very good president to have in to negate that, because I think his feet are on the ground. He's seeing what's happening at club level.
Well, his son obviously playing for Armagh. Yeah.
He sees that. He sees that every evening at home, but he's also up at the club, seeing what club lads are doing and what underage structures are doing.
Yeah.
But the resources are there within the GAA. I can never get over these inter-county setups. You see 26 people of a backroom staff going to the game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, I work for a professional football club. We don't have 26 people as a backroom.
Where's the money, or where's the funding coming from all this, or why, or what are some of them even at?
Yeah, but what quality are they adding?
That's my whole point. Yeah, I'm blue in the face talking about that. Yeah.
If you're a manager of an inter-county team now, you're probably spending a lot majority of your time managing backroom teams that rather so than players. Like I worked with Paul Coggins with London, who was the funniest man I've ever worked for.
Yeah.
He used to lift the phone to ring players or ring staff, and you could be on the phone to them for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a man that you'd want to play for, because he'd such invested interest in you. But he used to say to me, you're spending more time worrying about backroom teams than anything.
Lads. Yeah.
Getting structured. And you see it at club level now as well. The money in some club teams is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But where it's going is the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's becoming very relevant, and I see there's lots of merry-go-round even with management jobs, and lads kind of swapping gigs and getting all these lads involved, and just the longevity of it all, Colm, will be interesting. I suppose even kind of last point on it, like regarding Cavan's kind of in the last couple of months, we've seen like a lot of lads maybe retire. Obviously, that's absolutely fine. And you see a lot of lads maybe stepping away from the panel. If you're not making the 26, it seems to be, Colm, it seems to just be a very long workload, and then you don't get to play for your club, even if you're making the 26. I think that's a rule that's definitely winning Cavan. I suppose maybe your thoughts on that, maybe lads heading off, and so is that kind of welfare aspect of things too.
And I think the playing time is a big thing. Like, I think that if you're not within that first 20 of a panel, if you're not winning them subs, like, you're not playing. I know myself, having the top players up, so that's one of the things we have to do after the game. You have the top players up. From a conditioning point of view, you're just doing the player the service by not letting them play in technically, tactically, and physically for their clubs. And I think it's probably something that if there is an overlap of games, that the overlap probably has to come earlier. And you need to say that, okay, if Cavan are playing on a Saturday evening, then Sunday you can play for your club. And it's probably one thing that's kept board and GAA need to look at if there's league games on, that if you're playing on a Saturday, then you can play with the club on a Sunday. If you haven't played this X amount of minutes, or you haven't played at all, and then you come into a Monday recovery session as well as everybody else does that has played. Because there's nothing worse than after a game on a Sunday at 3 o'clock, okay, the S&C coach says you have to go running. You have to do this running because you haven't played. and you're doing that without the ball a lot of the time, and it's hard enough to prescribe from a coaching point of view, never mind actually run with players.
Yeah.
Then you have to realise they're amateur athletes. Like the lads are going to work the next morning. Their heads are going to be all over the place because they haven't played all weekend. When every mate that they have from both sides have played, which must be extremely hard for them. But yeah, I think it is something that will need addressing down the line with clubs. But then at the same time, should clubs be so reliant on county players? Should the structures be in a way that they have to win games when county players are unavailable? Because like 2009, 2008, we'd no lads in the county. So it was easy for us to go and field the game against Cavan Gales who had 6 lads on it. We were rubbing our hands because we knew that they were missing 6 of their best players.
Yeah.
And we had a full deck of cards. And that most places where you went to, then if you're playing senior football, you've got 2 or 3 players that are on the county team.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. Like going into a club league season, like it must be extremely hard. Either getting numbers for a team and then playing against, if you're missing your 2 best players. I think it's something from a structure point of view, I think we need to look at a lot more.
Yeah, no, because that's what I was thinking.
Like season.
Yeah, no, definitely, and like you can even see in some of the Cavan League games, like there's teams getting absolutely railroaded, and so blatantly obvious that they could be doing. And maybe obviously some of the club men that quit the Cavan team are back with their clubs now, and the clubs would be really thankful for them. The lads did leave the Cavan panel, but it was kind of evident last year that the county lads were missing, and there was a few, I suppose, walloping games, and then it just kind of brings back, like, if you're not making the 26, you're frustrated, then you can't play for your club. So again, Colm, yeah, definitely you're hoping that some level playing field is sorted.
Yeah, and then it's the same lads every week though.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like if you're on the 26 for Cavan last week or this week, you haven't played a game in 3 weeks, somebody gets injured, you need to step up. Yeah, but I haven't played a game in 3 weeks. Like it's a catch-22. Like, and we're probably quite lucky in it over here if we've a player who's not playing religiously. Our academy program runs on a Wednesday games, so we can put them in for some minutes on a Wednesday if we need to, or if they need to at all. A lot of the time we're lucky enough that we'll have the odd Wednesday game here or there, be it a cup game or whatever. We can put them in and get them the minutes that they need into that, so that if they do need to step up, that they can play. And also for the manager, if he sees that he wants to use them again, it's their shop window basically. But yeah, I think that side of the inter-county club season needs to be, like, I remember the Star games a few years ago, and they tried to negate it every other way, but it just doesn't work that easy. And I think the inter-county setup probably need to look at that and say, right, well, if you're not playing, then you need to get a club game in next week. But with the season so short, was it 2 months till the senior championship, till the Ulster Championship starts?
Yeah, 2 months.
Yeah, you don't want a lad going out and probably the manager doesn't want a lad going out and getting injured in a club game either. So it's a catch-22 probably for Mickey Graham and for every club manager in Cavan. But I don't envy them at all going into it.
No, I definitely don't. I suppose, Colm, kind of touching on to your end of things over, obviously you've been involved with many's a team over in England, and obviously Liverpool currently. I suppose, how are you enjoying that end of things over with the soccer end of things?
Yeah, it's different. I worked in rugby before that, and that was different. With Harlequins, the Ealing Trailfinders and Esher, and then you come into soccer, or as they call it, football here. Soccer. I still have that argument regularly.
Say so.
But yeah, look, there's a massive. It's similar to the men's game. There's a massive gulf between the top of the league and the bottom of the league financially. So you still have that gulf. There is always 11v11. There is always a chance for an upset.
Yeah.
There is form, but it's up and down. Every week is different. There's very few weeks the same. We've got a fair good Irish contingent here. As anyway, we've got Leanne Kiernan from Flying, who's literally 2 minutes over the road from me. She's coming back from an ankle injury now. She got injured in the first game of the season.
God, she's ripping it up.
a nice little ankle snap, or a ligament in her ankle gone. So that was an operation, and she's back running now on Sunday or Saturday morning for Friday. So she's Sunday. So the Friday must have had something in it here on Saturday morning. And then we've got Nifahi from Galway. Who's a big GAA head. I think she's an All-Ireland medal from under 16.
Okay.
Then she moved over to Arsenal. So she'd be soloing the ball around the gym whenever you have your back torn. And then we've got Meg Campbell from Drogheda as well. So long throw expert. But it's quite a good Irish contingent here. And then we've got every culture under the sun. We've Japanese, Scandinavian. None of them understand my Cavan accent.
Not a chance.
Poor little Japanese girl came in and she just,
Just keep nodding the head. Yeah.
As I said to them, you've got I have a 2-week rule with all of them. It'll take you 2 weeks until you can understand. And as the Finnish girl says, I understand English. I don't understand your English. But it's to be fair, it's the professional game. It is a lot different. Like the players get time to rest compared to the GAA.
Which is quite astonishing, right? Like I know we've had that debate or that conversation, but that is quite astonishing, really. Like when you add it up, weigh it up.
Yeah, like our players don't report till 11 o'clock. They'll come in, they do their pitch session, they'll do their gym session, they'll go home, the rest.
Yeah.
They'll have an analyst in that as well. Today they'll come in at probably 11. They'll have a team meeting. They'll have prehab, pitch, gym. They might have individual clips then. And then they're home. And they'll be home for 4:30, 5 o'clock. And they've got the evening to rest.
Right.
Get ready for tomorrow. Do the same. And we train what? 5 days a week. Yeah, 5 days a week. And the game, train 4 days a week and play a game and that.
But it's you train that many times, but like it's nice. Of course, it's professional. Everything that goes into that column, but like it's a nice sort of balance, I suppose. Yeah,
like I've worked with managers who do it differently.
Yeah,
I've worked with managers who train 5 days a week and play a game. So you're on the pitch 6 days in a week, and for me, and he agreed. Then after a few months, that doesn't work because players are absolutely shattered.
Yeah,
and you have to think of player welfare as well. Players react differently to everything that we do. And how you structure the week and what you're doing within the week, technically, tactically, physically. We're quite lucky in that we don't have that big of a staff. We've got a manager, 2 assistants, 3 medical staff, 2 S&C staff, and a goalkeeping coach. So our team meetings and 2 analysts aren't flooded with. I've got an opinion on this, and the manager's quite good at structuring as well and telling it how it is and as it is and when he has to. And he's pretty black and white with that as well, which is fun and good. But I think a lot of the time when you look back and you see these massive backroom teams, I'm like, how can you structure your week? How can you sit there when you've got so many different opinions coming at?
But that's
like, and for me it's baffling. Like, and but it seems like a thing that you have to have it now. Like,
are you talking soccer or GAA?
Both.
Okay.
Like I see Chelsea women compared to maybe Man City women, maybe compared to Leicester women. They'll all have different staff and structures.
Yeah.
And there's not one way to be successful. I think that's the thing that GAA is lost on. That they think that you have to have 2 analysts, 4 physios, 2 S&Cs, 3 interns, 2 kit men. Like I do laugh at it. Like, and at the same time, we have it here. Like, I know my manager could turn around sometimes and saying, well, I want to reduce the number of staff because there's too many people talking, or if there are staff that they're not going to be in the office with us. We have an open office. Manager sits in the corner, like, and it can be a lot of abuse fired at once, normally towards my direction, but you get it back double barrel. But I think it's a balance that they need to get right.
Okay.
Because financially, I looked at the financial cost of some of the counties last year, and wow, like we wouldn't be spending that. Like, we've got people on full-time wages. Like some of the money that these people are dragging in is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
For an amateur sport. And I think it's only a matter of time again before players turn around and say, I'm playing in front of 80,000.
I'm not
the lad
getting
giving
this.
the programs is getting paid. I'm not. And I still find it baffling, John, when I go home to games.
But that's I made this point last week on a podcast column, like, and like, not to be over egg the omelette on it, but like I even see short sponsors at the minute, and even on the sides and the fronts and this, that, and the other. And I think it was Aidan Forker, the Armagh footballer, was tweeting there last Monday saying that we still haven't got our expenses for going to the games and players aren't being looked after. My blood pressure was through the roof talking about this last Thursday column, and I'm not even a county footballer. It's crazy stuff.
It's crazy to see the treatment of them, because what the lads do. Like, I would have watched 2 games last weekend, and I watched a Sunday game. I watched it Monday morning sitting on the couch. And I sit down for an hour and a half and watch the highlights of games in probably mediocre conditions.
Well, Derry Mead was just ridiculous conditions, yeah.
Unbelievable. And even the Tyrone Galway game, the camera, and I'm like, Jesus, how can you do this? And
yeah.
But you're looking at the cameraman's getting paid, everybody's getting paid, but poor Johnny, who's swinging a pint over from 30 yards. And you have to commend the players. Like, you watch Clifford, you watch these lads who are superstars, and if they're in any other sports, they'll probably be multi-millionaires. But just so happens that they play a national sport in Ireland. Like, there has to be something to give. And I seen that thing with the Armagh guys and getting paid in 2 block sums during the summer, during the year.
Crazy stuff.
I think it's ridiculous for the players that are putting in such an effort. Be it if you're traveling an hour to get the training, or you're traveling 20 minutes to get the training.
It's still
the
relevant.
Effort that these lads are putting in, is phenomenal.
And
I think Croke Park needs to turn around and say, what's the player welfare like? Because that's a player welfare issue. Like, if you're not getting paid, you're thinking to yourself mentally, well, how am I going to afford to get the training?
Well, even college students as well, Colm, and like lads coming up from the Belfast or Dublin or Galway or whatever you're having yourself. And you can even guarantee the likes of, as you were rightly saying, the managers, the statisticians, the physios, like, they're not turning around to tweet and saying, oh, we haven't got our money. They're definitely getting paid. So why can't we look after the players who are representing their game, who's getting attendees into games, who's filling out Croke Park week in, week out?
But it's farcical, like, because what will change with it? Like, I do find it baffling, because in any other sport there'd be player strikes, and you see the Welsh lads going to strike this weekend because they're striking because of players not getting contracts renewed.
Well, that's what Forker was saying. Like, he was saying, if players don't show up, what happens then?
Oh, what happens then? You're literally screwed. Like, it's
it's crazy. It's crazy.
I do feel massively for them, and I think the top brass needs to look at, well, what's happening from the backroom team, what's happening from the hierarchy, and how is that being filtered down? Because for me, and then even the expenses that they're getting, it's probably minimal as well. It's probably the same. Was it 2 years ago the expenses were the same when the euro was transferred from euro to pound? Which is, for me, that's absolutely ridiculous, and it's taking the piss out of the players a little bit, like. And I think if it's made easier for the players, then fair enough. But I see player welfare being a massive thing with that. Like, how
it's a big issue at the minute, Colm. It's a big. I don't know if you've been following much of the media in the last couple of weeks. And, like, in fairness, I was only saying in the pod there last week, it's probably been the most disastrous start to the year for the GAA. From the Glen and Kilmacud situation to the player welfare, Sickerson games, between this expenses, like, it's all
poor Jarla has a year to figure it all out, and then and listening to him and have a lot of confidence in him. I listen to him on something, and I'd have a lot of confidence in him going in to do that job, because the way he spoke and the way he spoke with the processes, and the problem is it's all a closed book. And I know all this because the phone calls used to come to the house phone at home. And
I would imagine so.
Why is that happening?
I would imagine so. Yeah.
But he I don't know how he dealt with half of it, because I would have lost my head with him. He's a more patient man than I am.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. He's the treasure of the club now. I think he's done full circle at the club.
Yeah.
And he's never got an expense. He's never got an expense for anything in every job that he's done for the GAA. So
Yeah.
he's a press full of crystals. If he starts selling that of Cavan crystal stuff, he might make a few pounds.
That's only good. Oh, look, Colm, it's a Thursday evening. We don't want to rise the blood pressure too much because, it's where the GAA is at the minute, my man. But overall, you're enjoying your work and it's all going well for you.
Yeah, all going well. I hope to go home now in the summer for a few weeks. I've got the little fella, so
brilliant. Yeah,
need to start getting around. O'Neill's ball in front of him, and not a Nike football with all the colours on it. So yeah, looking forward to getting home. Looking forward to getting back to Kingscourt. Hopefully get a few Cavan games in. Hopefully touch base with a few of the lads. I know Andre and the S&C with the Cavan guys as well. I crossed paths with him a few times in London when he was at London Irish.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be fair, it from the outside when you look at home, everything's good now. Hopefully coming into the championship now, have a good league campaign. The disappointment of last year, put that to bed at the Falcon Cup. Hopefully go home, see Kingscourt win a few games. That'd be the main thing. And not get too irate standing in the stand beside my brother thinking, will one of us play or none of us play? I've had more clubs now than Tiger Woods, so I can't be transferred. That's my only thing. And I've gone to that Lycra side now as well, where I'm running. I'm not. If I have to stand in a 4v4 or work, I'm struggling. Never mind having to stand in and playing a 15v15 in O'Reilly Park in Kingscourt. I'm definitely a duck out of water there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting home there during the summer, I have to say. And hopefully the weather's half decent as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And I have to ask you obviously about your dad. Obviously, Colm Phil Smith, he used to be the chairman of the county board. He's obviously done great work with Cavan over the years, and obviously still heavily involved with Kingscourt and be at every Cavan game that takes place. You know, what a man.
What a man. Don't know how he's the patience for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, to be fair to Dad, like, he's probably one of the reasons why I'd be involved in sport, because he used to go to every game under the sun, from going to Jerry Riley games in Oldcastle to watching the Cavan Hurlers playing against Leitrim and Park Sean, and you'd be going to the Fork, you'd be up in Falls Road on New Year's Day, or was it New Year's Eve, to watch Cavan Gales in a minor game. Even being Kingscourt people, you'd have it be slightly cheering for them. Which is always a big thing. To be fair to him, he's when you think of the GAA and all the time he's put into GAA, both a club and a county level, and still county level with the Healthy Clubs campaign, he's doing a bit of work with that now, which is great to see, and he's still quite involved in that. And even the Healthy Clubs at Crow Park, Aegon got him involved in some of that, but he's always busy, and I get emails. I get emails from my dad saying, could I do this and could I do that? And I'm thinking, Dad,
settle.
Wow, settle. But no, he is great now. He'll get the most Cavan games. He'll get to nearly every Cavan game. But every Kingscourt game that he can get. He was a selector there for a few years. So he was on the other side of the fence. So we gave him plenty of stick about that. Me and Philip did.
Yeah.
But like, to be fair, the whole family have had a stint in Gaelic football. Niall's games promotion officer, game coaching development officer in Kingscourt now. So I get every question from him about structures and what do we do and what do the academy do over here, and I'm thinking a bit of a different ball game. To just buy player, you can just buy a player in here if they're not good enough for Kingscourt. You have to nurture that player from the age of 8. And then Philip coaches, I think, the girls under 8s or the under 10s, and he has to keep his elbows down when he's doing that, not like when he used to play. So he's Joe McQuillan's best friend, as we used to say to him. But to be fair, Dad's great now, and not bother on him. He's a treasure now, and they're building an AstroTurf at the moment in Kingscourt, which would be a great addition in behind the goals. So and like that, it's more the population of Kingscourt's gone up. There's loads of kids. I couldn't get over the last time I was down in the park, the amount of kids playing. When we were younger, an under 10 team, you might have 15 players. Now to have 2 or 3 teams, and there's great working on their grassroots level. And great people involved, like Kit Finnegan. Last time I was down, he was down coaching the under 8s boys, and under 7s boys, and there's that many age groups now I can't keep up. When we were young, it used to be under 10s, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s. Now it's like an age for every age group. There's a nursery age group, and
I think that's a sign with the parents. I think that's a sign. I think the parents must have came up with that.
Oh yeah, I'll bring them over here. They can work with our girls and see what they want. I'd have to be very careful what I'm saying on that.
Oh, great stuff. And I suppose, Colm, any kind of plans for the future? Happy with work at the moment, happy with family life, and I suppose stay put across the pond for the minute, or?
Stay across the pond here. I have a marathon to run. I run the London Marathon now in April. So
right, fair play. Yeah.
I think Packy Leddy would have said it a few times, and he used to mark him that I was running a marathon. He used to hate running around. So there's a few lads he used to run around with, but no, got to that stage now. I had one game of football last year. My body was sore for 2 weeks, so I said won't be doing that again over here. But no, fairly settled now over here. It's
okay.
Try and get home maybe to get the lad christened at some stage in Kingscourt, but the poor fella, I don't know if he's going to have a Scouse accent or a Cavan accent.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
He's doomed. I say he's going to have a hybrid accent. Well,
that'd be a lovely mix.
Be a lovely mix. Graham McDowell-esque.
Great.
I can hear him shouting at me here in the background anyway. So.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Last one, Colm, to wrap up. You've been brilliant with your time. I suppose, what kind of advice would you give maybe a young S&C kind of coach, maybe starting off, or any kind of general life advice?
For me, reach out, get in contact with people.
Yeah.
Get in contact with people who are, be it at clubs, be it at club, but most important thing is get coaching. Get your hands dirty. I was lucky enough, I started coaching. I think my first ever bit of coaching was in Beltorba at a cool camp.
Okay.
That was my first bit of coaching, and ever since I've been coaching. We used to get a lift with Joe Riley from Shercock. So I've been coaching ever since. Been coaching at every age group, be it in Kingscourt, be it whatever, PT, but you have to get your hands dirty, and that's the first thing that a coach can pick up on, is how much another coach has done and how he interacts with group. Some of the girls coming over coaching now, we've some unbelievable talent coming through, and I love getting home to see that. I love getting into the Kingscourt to see the amount of coaches in and the amount of parents involved. I even see Kingscourt Harps girls are up and going now, and I see some of the coaches in there and lads that you'd never imagine coaching, and it's great to see. And I see Kingscourt under 14s or under 13s girls had Tomas Malone, Thomas Wakely, and Gavin Sheenan as coaches. Like
that's invaluable. Yeah, that's
invaluable. Both from a social side and from a football side. But it's great. It's great to see getting involved, and it's great to see young people getting coaching now. And I used to see that the cool camps used to be a great way to do that. Getting young people within the club in half terms, in summer holidays, coaching, and I think that's an area that needs to probably be addressed again, and getting young people back into the game and coaching, and showing them how valuable it is for them, be it if they're going into teaching or whatnot. It's another career experience for them. But yeah, getting their hands dirty, basically.
Get the hands dirty in every walk of life, Colm. In every walk of life, and you'll make your corn. Colm Smith, really enjoyed that. Thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by orcourage.com. Use the Rogue JMac podcast to get 15% off on their website. Top man, thanks a million, and enjoy the rest of your week. Cheers.
Take it easy, lad. Have a good one.